My name is Alex, and for most of my life, I had thought I was just normal. I worked a steady 9 to 5 job as a graphic designer at a mid-sized agency downtown. My routine was predictable, unremarkable. Coffee in the morning, emails and deadlines during the day, and evenings spent either gaming, scrolling through social media, or occasionally going out with friends. On the surface, I was the picture of a conventional guy. But underneath, there was a curiosity, a secret side of me that I hadn't fully explored, my fascination with clothes, makeup, and the delicate aesthetics of femininity. It wasn't something I ever admitted, not even to my closest friends. Dressing in women's clothes had always been a private, solitary thrill, a mix of excitement, shame, and unspoken desire. I had experimented when no one was around, sneaking into my sister's closet during visits home, or ordering lingerie online under an alias. The sensation of silk against my skin, the subtle weight of stockings, the intricate lines of makeup, it was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. I felt alive in a way I couldn't explain, a hidden part of myself that rarely saw the light of day. Then came Emma. She was everything I hadn't realized I was craving. Bold, confident, and unapologetically herself. Emma had an eye for detail and a playful streak that often caught me off guard. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party, and there was an instant spark. She was flirtatious, teasing, yet somehow understood me in ways I couldn't articulate. From the very beginning, Emma challenged my notions of comfort and conformity. She wasn't someone who tolerated quirks, she celebrated them, often in ways that pushed boundaries. Our relationship evolved quickly. We shared laughs, secrets, and the kind of intimacy that made me feel both safe and exposed. Yet, there was one conversation I hadn't anticipated, one that would set the course for everything that followed. One evening, while we were lounging on her apartment sofa, Emma turned to me with a mischievous glint in her eyes. "You know," she began casually, "I think you'd look amazing feminine." I froze, unsure whether to laugh or panic. "What do you mean?" I asked cautiously, my voice betraying a mix of curiosity and fear. "I mean, I've always thought you'd be the perfect boyfriend if you embraced your softer side," she said, tracing her finger along the rim of her wine glass. "Not just in personality, physically too. I'd love to see you explore it." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. Part of me was intrigued. Part of me panicked at the thought of exposing a side of myself I had kept hidden. Yet, there was something in her tone, playful but earnest, that made me consider it seriously. Could this be the moment I'd been unconsciously waiting for? The next few weeks were a blur of experimentation. It started subtly. She encouraged me to pick softer fabrics, to try pastel colors, and even to apply light makeup on nights when we stayed in. At first, it felt like a game, a harmless dalliance. But with each brushstroke of eyeliner, each delicate slip into a skirt or blouse, I felt a growing sense of liberation. The thrill of being seen in a different light, even just by Emma, was exhilarating. Our apartment became my private runway. Emma's laughter and approval acted as both permission and fuel. I was learning to move differently, to speak with a softer cadence, to inhabit a body that felt both mine and not mine. There was a strange duality in the experience. I was discovering beauty, vulnerability, and confidence in ways I had never imagined. Yet, with every step forward, I was also aware of the stakes. My secret life was intertwined with a thrill that bordered on danger. What if someone found out? What if Emma pushed me too far? And deep down, I wondered, did I want this to remain a private exploration, or could it become something permanent? As our relationship deepened, Emma's vision for me became more pronounced. She began teasing me about specific outfits, suggesting lingerie beneath my everyday clothes, and encouraging poses and expressions that were entirely foreign to my usual self. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. I was caught between fear and desire, secrecy and expression, reality and fantasy. That night, as I looked into the mirror wearing a delicate blouse and fitted skirt, I realized something unsettling yet liberating. The reflection staring back was undeniably me, yet it also carried a new identity, a blend of Alex and the feminine persona Emma had coaxed out. My heart raced. The line between curiosity and necessity had blurred. I wasn't just experimenting anymore. I was stepping into a transformation that could change everything. And I had no idea just how far Emma was willing to push me, or how much I would let her. The morning sunlight streamed through Emma's apartment, highlighting the pastel curtains she loved so much. I sat at the edge of the bed, hands shaking slightly as I held the delicate blouse she had picked out for me the night before. It wasn't just the fabric, it was the weight of what it symbolized. Wearing it meant stepping further into a version of myself I had barely dared to imagine. Emma appeared in the doorway, her presence commanding yet playful. "Come on, it's just us here. Try it," she said, tilting her head with that teasing smirk that always made me both nervous and excited. I hesitated, tracing the silk of the blouse with my fingers. The soft texture was intoxicating. My mind raced with thoughts. What if it doesn't look right? What if I look ridiculous? What if I like it too much? Emma noticed my hesitation. She came closer, her hand brushing lightly against mine. "Alex, you're going to look amazing. Trust me." Her confidence bolstered me, but it also made my heart pound. As I slid into the blouse, feeling the fabric mold to my body, I caught a glimpse of myself in the full-length mirror. The reflection was different. Softer. More vulnerable. Yet, I couldn't deny it, I looked beautiful. Emma clapped her hands softly, eyes shining. "See? I told you." The next step was makeup. I had only experimented lightly before, but today she had bigger plans. She set out an array of brushes, eyeshadows, and lip glosses. My fingers trembled as I picked up the eyeliner. Emma guided me gently, her hands over mine, showing me how to create a subtle wing. "Relax," she murmured. "This is fun, not a test." But for me, it felt like a test. Every stroke of makeup seemed to expose not just my face, but my inner self. I could feel a tension rising within me, fear of being judged, but also the heady thrill of doing something forbidden and exciting. When she finally stepped back, the transformation was undeniable. My features softened, the blouse complemented the makeup, and even the way I stood felt different. More deliberate, more cautious, yet more confident. I hardly recognized myself. Emma's eyes sparkled with approval. "You're perfect," she said, and for a fleeting moment, I believed her. But then came the internal conflict. Was this really me? Or was this just a performance for her? The excitement clashed with guilt, curiosity with self-doubt. I wanted to revel in the sensation of silk, the curve of my figure accentuated by her chosen clothes, but a part of me feared losing control of my identity. I don't know if I can go out like this," I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Emma tilted her head. "Who says you have to go out? Today, it's just us. Explore. Enjoy it. Don't think about anyone else." Her reassurance helped, but the adrenaline in my body wouldn't subside. I practiced walking, testing the way the heels clicked against the hardwood floor. Each step made me hyper-aware of my body, the sway of my hips, the weight of the blouse, the subtle pressure of the skirt around my waist. Every movement felt both foreign and intoxicating. Hours passed, and Emma never let me forget her encouragement. She had me try different poses in front of the mirror, snapping photos and giving feedback. "Lean a little more this way, tilt your head, yes, exactly like that." I laughed nervously, but inside, a storm of emotions brewed. Part of me was exhilarated by the attention, the admiration, the transformation. Part of me was terrified that this side of me would consume me, that I would be trapped in this feminine persona she was helping me build. By the afternoon, I had fully embraced the persona Emma had coaxed out of me. I was no longer just Alex. I was Alex as she envisioned him. Softer, more delicate, more visually expressive. And with that transformation came a new set of anxieties. What if someone sees me like this? I asked, biting my lip nervously. Emma smiled slyly. "Then let them. But for now, you're safe. Only me and you." Her words were meant to comfort, but they also ignited a thrill that I couldn't ignore. The danger of discovery, even in a controlled environment, made my heart race. It was like playing with fire. I was drawn to it but aware of the risk. As evening approached, the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the apartment. Emma suggested we take photos for fun, documenting the day's transformation. I posed tentatively, then gradually grew bolder as her praise reinforced my confidence. I could feel the boundaries of my identity stretching, reshaping, blending the familiar with the new. Yet, beneath the excitement, a nagging tension persisted. I was alone with my thoughts, and the possibility that one wrong move could shatter the fragile comfort we had created. Would my friends ever understand? Would my family? And most importantly, would I ever be able to separate Alex from this new, more feminine persona Emma was nurturing? By the end of the day, I was exhausted, both physically and emotionally. The thrill, the tension, the vulnerability, it had all been overwhelming. But there was no denying one fact. I had changed. Not just in appearance, but in perception, in self-awareness, in the subtle power of femininity Emma had drawn out of me. I looked into the mirror one last time before collapsing onto the sofa. The reflection was mesmerizing, Alex, yet undeniably altered. I felt a complex mixture of pride, fear, and anticipation. Pride for having embraced the transformation, fear of what it meant for my identity, and anticipation for the challenges Emma might throw at me next. As Emma curled up beside me, whispering playful suggestions about tomorrow's adventures, I realized something profound. I was stepping into a world I had never dared to enter, guided by someone whose influence was intoxicating and overwhelming. And there was no turning back, not entirely. The first stage of transformation was complete, but the real challenges, the suspense, and the deeper emotional journey were only just beginning. The next morning, I woke to the soft chirping of birds outside Emma's window. My body still carried the remnants of yesterday's transformation, lingering sensations of silk against my skin, the delicate pressure of stockings, and the subtle confidence that had begun to seep into my posture. But there was also a creeping anxiety. Emma was already up, bustling in the kitchen, wearing a mischievous smile. "Good morning, beautiful," she said, her voice teasing yet warm. I froze. "Beautiful," I mumbled, unsure whether to laugh or panic. "Yes, beautiful," she repeated, walking toward me with a coffee cup in hand. "You really need to embrace it fully. Today, we'll push a little further." My heart raced. I had thought yesterday was intense, but Emma had plans. She handed me a delicate pastel dress, soft as a cloud, with lace accents along the neckline and hem. My hands shook as I took it, feeling the weight of what this symbolized. It wasn't just clothing, it was a declaration of transformation, a step further into a persona that felt thrilling and terrifying all at once. I don't know if I can wear this," I admitted, my voice trembling slightly. Emma's eyes softened. "I know it's scary, but remember, I'm here. Only us. This is your space to explore. Trust me." Her reassurance calmed me slightly, but the anxiety remained. I slipped into the dress, feeling it hug my frame in ways I hadn't experienced before. The sensation was electrifying and vulnerable simultaneously. I glanced in the mirror. The reflection staring back was Alex, but not the Alex I had known. This Alex moved differently, thought differently, existed in a space of fluidity and curiosity I had never dared to inhabit. Emma guided me through makeup again, this time more elaborate. Soft eyeshadow gradients, a subtle contour, and a delicate blush to enhance my cheekbones. As she worked, I could feel my identity shifting, blending. The thrill of transformation was intoxicating, yet every brushstroke heightened my awareness of vulnerability. By mid-morning, Emma suggested we try something daring. She wanted me to step outside, even if just onto the balcony, to feel the reactions of the world, even if minimal. My stomach knotted at the thought. People might see me, or worse, someone I knew. I hesitated. What if someone sees me like this? What if they recognize me? Emma took my hand, squeezing gently. Then they see the real you, the part you've been hiding. And I think they'd be impressed. But don't worry, we'll start small. Just the balcony. I nodded, heart pounding, and followed her to the sliding glass door. The sunlight was blinding, casting long shadows across the cityscape. I stepped onto the balcony, feeling exposed yet strangely liberated. The wind brushed against the dress, and the faint hum of city life below made me hyper-aware of every movement. Emma watched with a mixture of pride and amusement. "See? You're doing amazing. Just breathe." The exhilaration was undeniable, but so was the fear. Every passerby, every potential observer made my pulse quicken. For the first time, the transformation felt not only personal but social. I was no longer safe behind closed doors. I was now performing in a space where others could, even inadvertently, witness my feminine self. Back inside, Emma rewarded me with a gentle touch and a whispered compliment. "You're gorgeous, Alex." "I mean it." The day progressed with small exercises, walking in heels across the apartment, practicing poses in front of mirrors, experimenting with playful expressions, and even attempting a soft, melodic voice. Each challenge stretched the boundaries of comfort and identity, merging vulnerability with empowerment. But as the afternoon light waned, I felt a creeping tension. What if someone unexpected came by? What if Emma's playful encouragement went too far, and I lost control of this persona in public? The thrill of transformation was intoxicating, but it came with stakes I hadn't fully considered. Emma noticed my hesitation. She brushed a strand of hair behind my ear and smiled knowingly. "Don't overthink it. Every step you take builds confidence. You're exploring a side of yourself that's always been there. You're just letting it breathe." Her words comforted me, but I knew the next stage of this journey would challenge me even more. It wouldn't just be private experiments or balcony glimpses. It would involve situations where secrecy, exposure, and emotional risk collided. As evening approached, Emma suggested a playful exercise, a mock date within her apartment. I was to dress fully, apply makeup precisely, and act as her feminine boyfriend, charming, delicate, confident. The roleplay was both thrilling and nerve-wracking. I had to maintain poise, modulate my voice, and embody a persona that felt increasingly real. We set up a small dinner on the living room table, complete with candles and soft music. As I moved through the motions, pouring wine, arranging plates, offering smiles, I felt a profound tension between performance and authenticity. Was this Alex, or was this someone else entirely? Could I ever separate the two? Emma watched intently, occasionally offering guidance. "Lean a little closer, smile softer." "Yes, just like that." Each correction sent a ripple through me, blending pleasure with vulnerability. I was learning, evolving, and yet the underlying fear persisted. The fear of being exposed, judged, or misunderstood. By the end of the evening, I was physically and emotionally drained. The day's exercises had pushed me to the edge of comfort, forcing me to navigate a space where desire, identity, and fear intersected. Yet, amidst the exhaustion, there was an undeniable thrill. I had survived exposure, embraced femininity, and taken steps toward a transformation that felt permanent. Emma curled up beside me afterward, whispering praise and encouragement. "You did beautifully today. And tomorrow we go further." I lay there, staring at the ceiling, heart racing, body tingling. The thrill of transformation had morphed into something deeper, a blend of exhilaration and apprehension, curiosity and dread. I knew that the challenges ahead would test not only my identity, but my relationship with Emma and the fragile balance between secrecy and expression. The journey was far from over, and I sensed that the most suspenseful, emotionally charged moments were still to come. But one thing was clear: I was no longer the same Alex who had walked into Emma's apartment that first day. The transformation had begun in earnest, and there was no turning back. The following morning, the apartment felt heavier somehow, charged with anticipation. Emma had left early for work, but not before leaving a note on the kitchen counter. "Today is about confidence. No backing down. I'll be back this evening. Have fun." I stared at the note, heart pounding. "Have fun," I muttered. The words felt innocent, but underneath, I sensed a challenge. Emma wanted me to push further, to embrace my feminine persona without her constant guidance, and without the safety net of privacy. I opened the wardrobe, scanning the outfits she had curated. One caught my eye, a short, flowing dress in deep burgundy, paired with delicate ankle-strap heels. The color was bold, commanding, yet undeniably elegant. My stomach twisted as I touched the fabric, feeling the weight of expectation pressing down on me. As I changed, I became acutely aware of every movement, the way the dress hugged my shoulders, the way the hem swayed over my thighs, the precarious balance of the heels beneath my feet. Each step was a negotiation between thrill and fear. I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. Alex, but also someone else entirely. Someone feminine, exposed, and beautiful in a way that felt both empowering and terrifying. The apartment was quiet, amplifying every sound, the click of heels on the hardwood floor, the rustle of fabric as I adjusted the dress, my own shallow breaths. I realized how vulnerable I was, not just physically, but emotionally. For the first time, the transformation wasn't just a private experiment, it was a test of courage, of self-acceptance, of control. I decided to venture outside, taking a tentative step onto the balcony first. The city was awake, the streets humming with activity. People moved below, unaware of the figure observing them from above. My pulse quickened. Could anyone recognize me? Would they judge? And more importantly, did I care? The thrill of exposure was intoxicating. I felt a rush of confidence as I experimented with posture, movement, and expression. I tried subtle gestures, tilting my head, smoothing the dress, shifting weight from one leg to another. I was performing, yet it felt authentic in a way I hadn't anticipated. Suddenly, a shadow crossed the balcony. My heart leapt. I froze, peering over the edge. It was only a neighbor returning from morning errands, but the panic hadn't subsided. I retreated inside, closing the door with a trembling hand. The incident left me breathless, highlighting the fragility of my new persona and the constant risk of exposure. Emma returned that evening, her expression one of quiet approval. "You went outside?" she asked, a hint of admiration in her voice. I nodded, feeling a flush of pride mixed with lingering embarrassment. "Just the balcony," I admitted. "Good," she said. "Tomorrow, we'll try something bigger. But tonight, let's refine what you've learned." She guided me through another round of makeup and styling, this time focusing on details, subtle eyeliner to accentuate the eyes, soft gloss for the lips, and carefully styled hair to frame my face. Each stroke, each adjustment, deepened the sense of transformation, merging Alex with this feminine counterpart. By the time dinner arrived, I was exhausted but exhilarated. Emma had set the table again, this time with more elaborate touches, candles flickering, soft music playing, and a gentle aroma of her cooking filling the room. She looked at me, eyes gleaming. "You're adapting so well. I'm proud of you." I smiled, but it was a fragile mask over my inner turmoil. The day had pushed me to confront my fears, to navigate vulnerability and confidence simultaneously. I realized that the transformation wasn't just about appearance, it was about identity, risk, and emotional courage. Later, Emma introduced a new challenge, video chatting with a friend of hers. "I want you to be confident, to show your feminine side," she said. "Just a short call. No stress." My stomach dropped. A real interaction outside the apartment? My pulse raced. Could I maintain this persona in front of someone unfamiliar? Would they see through the performance? The stakes had suddenly become much higher. As the call connected, I forced a smile, trying to steady my voice. "Hi," I greeted, the soft, melodic tone feeling strange yet natural at the same time. Emma's friend responded warmly, complimenting my appearance. "Wow, you look amazing." "Is that Alex?" The use of my real name sent a shiver through me. I nodded, attempting composure. Each gesture, each word, felt amplified under scrutiny. I was not just performing for Emma. I was performing for someone else, and the fear of judgment was now immediate and tangible. The conversation was brief, but intense. I navigated compliments, light conversation, and subtle expressions, feeling the tension coil tighter with each passing moment. By the end of the call, my hands were shaking, my heartbeat rapid. Yet beneath the anxiety was a strange exhilaration, a confirmation that I could inhabit this persona outside the safe confines of the apartment. After the call, Emma embraced me, whispering, "See? You're more capable than you think. You're evolving beautifully." I sank into her embrace, torn between relief and lingering fear. The transformation had begun to permeate every facet of my being, physical, emotional, and social. I realized that each step forward carried higher stakes, more intense exposure, and the constant threat of being discovered. As night fell, I prepared for bed, still dressed in remnants of the day's experiments. I caught a final glimpse in the mirror. Alex, undeniably changed, with traces of vulnerability and newfound confidence intertwined. Tomorrow promised even greater challenges, but I sensed that my journey had moved beyond experimentation. The transformation was becoming integral, inescapable, and irrevocably linked to my identity. And yet, a lingering tension remained: the fear of being caught, the uncertainty of acceptance, and the profound question of how far I could go before the thrill became peril. The suspense of what was to come hovered in the air, setting the stage for the climactic trials that awaited. The next morning began with a palpable tension in the air. Emma had left for work earlier than usual, whispering a cryptic message as she departed. "Today, you'll really be tested. No mistakes." My stomach twisted at her words. There was no more room for minor experiments or tentative steps. Today was the real challenge. I stood in front of the mirror, examining myself carefully. My reflection was almost unrecognizable. Alex's usual features softened by makeup, framed by sleek, carefully styled hair, and accentuated by a dress that clung to curves I hadn't known I possessed. Every detail mattered. Heels adjusted, posture perfected, subtle expressions rehearsed. The reflection staring back seemed to carry both a vulnerability and an audacious confidence I hadn't felt before. Emma had left a list: errands to run, small social interactions, and the ultimate test, a meeting with a friend from her social circle who is known to be perceptive and judgmental. My hands shook slightly as I read the instructions. Each task, seemingly simple, felt like a tightrope walk, balancing the line between exposure and control. The first task was innocuous enough: walk to the nearby cafe to grab coffee. But as soon as I stepped outside, the city felt different. Faces turned toward me, not in direct recognition, but in subtle acknowledgement of something unusual. Every glance felt loaded, magnifying my anxiety. The heels clicked against the pavement, each step an echo of my internal tension. I felt exposed, yet undeniably alive. At the cafe, I navigated the ordering process with meticulous care. My voice was soft, melodic, careful to maintain a feminine tone. A barista complimented my appearance. "That dress is beautiful," and my pulse surged. Relief and pride mingled with fear. What if someone I knew noticed? What if they judged? The line between exhilaration and dread blurred dangerously. The second task took me further into unfamiliar territory: a brief interaction with a neighbor who had a reputation for gossip. As I approached, my heart pounded in my chest. I could feel my reflection in nearby shop windows, each glance a reminder of the persona I was inhabiting. "Hey, morning," I said, voice trembling slightly. The neighbor's expression registered surprise, but not judgment. "Morning. You look different today. Very elegant." I forced a smile, feeling a rush of conflicting emotions: shame, excitement, and a thrill of being seen. I navigated the conversation carefully, aware that even a small slip could reveal my secret. When the interaction ended, I exhaled sharply, the adrenaline leaving a strange emptiness behind. Returning home, I realized that the real challenge was still ahead: Emma's friend, who would arrive for a social test of my feminine persona. The minutes stretched unbearably as I prepared, each adjustment of makeup and clothing intensifying both anticipation and fear. When the doorbell rang, my heart leapt into my throat. Emma's friend entered, cheerful but discerning, and immediately began conversation. I forced composure, navigating the dialogue with practiced charm. Compliments were exchanged, subtle body language monitored, laughter carefully modulated. Halfway through, a sudden noise from the hallway startled me. A dropped book, a creaking floorboard, and I instinctively froze. Emma's friend raised an eyebrow, but I maintained my smile, pretending the flinch never happened. Inside, my mind raced. Every small action could betray the secret. Every imperfection could unravel the persona I had built with painstaking care. Then came the test I hadn't anticipated. A phone call from a colleague of mine who was unaware of my transformation. Emma's friend suggested I take the call, insisting it would demonstrate my confidence. My stomach sank. Speaking to someone who knew the real me, in this persona, felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. I answered, my voice carefully modulated, and immediately recognized the colleague. Their greeting was casual, yet the familiarity made my heart hammer. The conversation was brief, but each word was a challenge. Maintaining tone, concealing my internal panic, and responding convincingly as the feminine persona. Every response felt like a delicate balancing act. When the call ended, I collapsed momentarily in the nearest chair, relief flooding through me. Emma's friend observed quietly, a satisfied smile spreading across her face. "You're adapting faster than I expected," she said. But the calm she displayed did little to soothe the storm inside me. I knew the day was far from over. The final trial was Emma herself, returning unexpectedly early. I hadn't anticipated her arrival and hadn't prepared an excuse for my new state. The door clicked open, and there she was, smiling, but with a glint of curiosity in her eyes. "Hello," she said, tilting her head. "I see someone's been busy." Panic surged through me. Every muscle tensed as I tried to maintain composure. Emma circled me, observing details I hadn't noticed myself. The faint smudge of eyeliner, the tilt of my heels, the way I shifted weight from one leg to another. "You're impressive," she murmured. "But do you really feel comfortable in all this?" The question hit like a lightning bolt. Did I feel comfortable? Part of me reveled in the persona, the thrill, the empowerment. But another part quivered with fear of judgment, of exposure, of losing control. I think so," I stammered, unsure if I was convincing even myself. Emma's eyes softened. "Good. You're learning that confidence isn't just about looks. It's about presence, courage, and authenticity. But remember, the real test isn't just how others see you. It's how you see yourself." Her words left me stunned. The external challenges, the neighbor, the barista, the colleague, were secondary to the internal battle raging inside me. This was the true climax, navigating fear, desire, vulnerability, and empowerment, all while standing on the precipice of revelation. The evening ended with Emma leaving again, a knowing smile on her lips. I was left alone, trembling, exhausted, but exhilarated. I realized that this was only the beginning. The true climax was still unfolding, with unforeseen obstacles and heightened suspense awaiting in the hours to come. The room felt smaller the moment Emma left, the silence pressing down like a weight. I tried to catch my breath, but the adrenaline coursing through me made it impossible. Every muscle was still poised, every sense alert. I had passed the early tests, but I knew the true challenge hadn't even begun. Emma had been careful not to reveal the final part of her plan. A sudden knock at the door jolted me upright. My heart raced. No one was supposed to visit until the next day. Slowly, cautiously, I approached and peeked through the peephole. It was her friend again, holding a small package. My pulse spiked. I hadn't expected another test so soon. "Delivery for Alex," she said, stepping in as if invited. Her eyes sparkled with mischief, clearly aware of the precarious situation she had engineered. "Thought I'd see how you're doing." I tried to maintain my posture, my voice steady, but my hands trembled as I accepted the package. The friend's gaze lingered, sharp and calculating, like she was dissecting every detail of my transformation. The tension in the room was palpable. Inside the box, I found an assortment of feminine outfits and accessories, some elegant, others bold and daring. A note read, "Experiment with these. Tomorrow, Emma wants to see the ultimate test, confidence under scrutiny." My stomach turned. Each item was a symbol of vulnerability, forcing me to push boundaries I hadn't imagined. I spent the next hour carefully examining the clothes, feeling a mix of excitement and dread. The tactile sensation of silk and lace against my fingers sent shivers down my spine. I tried each piece on mentally, imagining how I would move, how I would appear to Emma, and how others might perceive me. Every scenario sparked both fear and exhilaration. The suspense heightened as the friend continued to watch, commenting on my choices, my posture, my expressions. "Confidence isn't just in how you wear the clothes, it's in how you inhabit them," she said, circling me like a predator assessing her prey. I practiced walking, talking, and gesturing, each movement measured and precise. But no matter how perfect I felt, the tension lingered. Every sound outside, the distant footsteps, the creak of the floorboards, the muffled voices, threatened to unravel the fragile persona I had built. Suddenly, the friend leaned in, holding a mirror in front of me. "Look," she said softly. "See yourself. Do you recognize who you are?" The reflection that stared back was both me and not me. The makeup softened my jawline. The dress accentuated curves that weren't mine yesterday, and the posture exuded confidence I didn't always feel. Yet in the eyes, there was vulnerability, uncertainty, and the faintest glimmer of fear. I felt a strange duality, empowered yet exposed, exhilarated yet terrified. I think so," I whispered, my voice barely audible. The words felt hollow even as they left my lips. Her smile widened. "Good. Remember, this isn't just about the outside. It's about owning every part of yourself, even the parts that scare you." No sooner had she left than a loud crash came from the kitchen. My heart leapt into my throat. Someone was inside the apartment, or had I imagined it? Every shadow seemed alive, every sound amplified. I tiptoed toward the noise, heels clicking softly against the hardwood floor. Peering around the corner, I saw nothing until I noticed the window slightly ajar, curtains fluttering in the wind. Panic surged. Had someone broken in? The thought of being exposed in this state sent chills down my spine. I moved to close the window, but the sudden flash of movement outside made me freeze. A neighbor's cat had knocked over a plant, spilling soil across the floor. Relief flooded me, but it was tinged with residual fear. Every nerve was still taut, every muscle alert. I realized that the world outside, even the mundane, had become a source of anxiety, magnified by the persona I now inhabited. By evening, I faced the most personal challenge yet, looking at myself without flinching. I sat before the mirror, slowly turning, observing every detail of the transformation. The wig slipped slightly, revealing my real hair underneath. I froze, fingers hovering, heart racing. One wrong move and Emma, or anyone, could see the truth. But then I took a deep breath, adjusted the wig, and smiled at the reflection. For the first time, the persona felt integrated with my true self. The anxiety remained, but it was tempered by a fragile sense of empowerment. I had survived the tests, navigated the suspense, and faced the mirror without collapsing. Just as I began to feel a measure of calm, my phone buzzed. A message from Emma. "Are you ready for the final test? Don't disappoint me." My hands shook as I read it. The real climax was still ahead, the point of no return, where exposure, fear, and transformation would collide in ways I couldn't yet predict. The room seemed to shrink around me. Every shadow, every object, every sound became part of the suspense. The weight of expectation pressed down, and the thrill of anticipation mingled with terror. I realized that this journey was more than crossdressing. It was a test of identity, courage, and the ability to embrace a self I had barely dared to explore. And then, The most chilling moment yet. The doorbell rang. Not Emma, not her friend, but someone entirely unexpected. My heart skipped. I had no idea who it could be, but I knew instinctively that this visit would push me to the edge, testing every ounce of composure, every bit of the feminine persona I had painstakingly built. The suspense was unbearable. I took a slow, steadying breath, adjusted the dress one last time, and walked to the door, knowing that the coming moments would define everything. The doorbell rang again, sharper this time, insistent. My fingers trembled as I reached for the handle, heels clicking against the floor with each step. Every nerve was on edge. I had survived tests, unexpected visits, and a flurry of anxiety, but this felt different. This felt like the point of no return. I opened the door to see Emma standing there, a mischievous, knowing smile curling across her lips. She carried a small clipboard, a pen poised as if ready to grade me. The sunlight behind her cast her in a halo, making her look like both judge and goddess. I swallowed hard, unsure whether to feel excitement or fear. "So," she said, stepping inside effortlessly. "Let's see how my boyfriend handles the ultimate challenge." My heart raced. I had spent hours preparing, perfecting my posture, practicing movements, and rehearsing expressions. But nothing could have prepared me for the vulnerability of standing fully exposed, physically, emotionally, and psychologically, before the person whose expectations defined every step of this transformation. Emma gestured toward the mirror. "Show me yourself," she commanded softly. I stepped forward, heels clicking, each movement deliberate. My reflection stared back at me, delicate curves accentuated by the dress, a wig framing my face perfectly, makeup softening sharp lines I had always disliked. My breath caught as I realized how far I had come. But the mirror also reflected the fear, the hesitation, and the vulnerability. I saw not only the persona I had created but the raw, unfiltered self beneath it, the part one had hidden from the world, even from Emma. "Good," Emma said, circling me. Her eyes scrutinized every angle, every detail, every micro-expression. But confidence isn't just about looking right. It's about feeling right. Show me how you move, how you react, how you inhabit this self. I began to walk, deliberately slow, testing my balance in heels I wasn't yet completely accustomed to. Each step was a dance between grace and tension. My hands trembled slightly, my posture wavered, but I pushed through. I practiced a smile, soft and inviting, then a laugh that felt natural. The sensations of the clothes against my skin, the wig brushing my shoulders, and the soft fabric under my fingertips reminded me of the thrill and danger of this transformation. Emma clapped softly. "Better. But now let's raise the stakes." She moved behind me and lightly tugged at the hem of the dress. I froze, realizing the symbolic danger. One wrong move, and the illusion would crumble. My chest tightened. Could I maintain composure under such scrutiny? Before I could react, there was a sudden, sharp knock at the apartment door. My heart leapt into my throat. Another unexpected visitor? My palms were slick with sweat, and I felt the dress cling to me uncomfortably, every nerve alert. Emma's eyes sparkled. "Remember, part of this challenge is handling the unexpected. Go see who it is." I approached the door slowly, the weight of the situation pressing down like a physical force. Peeking through the peephole, I froze. It wasn't anyone I expected. It was my neighbor, holding a small package and a curious expression. I cursed silently. Another test, another suspenseful twist. As I opened the door, my reflection in the hallway mirror caught my eye. The duality struck me violently. The feminine persona on the outside, the anxious, uncertain self within. My hands shook as I accepted the package, a symbolic test of composure. I excused myself, moving back into the living room, fully aware that Emma's gaze followed every motion. Inside the package were accessories, bracelets, earrings, and a delicate scarf. Each item was a test, a subtle prompt to further refine my persona. I tried each on with deliberate care, feeling the texture against my skin, and noting how it altered my posture and confidence. Emma's quiet nods and occasional instructions guided me, a blend of encouragement and subtle pressure. Suddenly, I heard a soft creak from the bedroom. My heart raced. Had I left something out of place? Had someone else entered? Emma noticed my hesitation. "Don't let fear dictate your movements," she said gently but firmly. "Confidence is owning every imperfection." I took a deep breath and returned to the center of the living room, adjusting my posture and lifting my chin. The mirror reflected a poised, confident version of me, yet inside, every emotion churned: fear, excitement, vulnerability, exhilaration. I realized that this test was not only about appearance, it was about fully inhabiting a new identity while maintaining the core of who I was. Emma stepped closer, placing her hand lightly on my shoulder. "Now, the final test," she whispered. "Show me not just what you look like, but who you are when everything else threatens to fall apart." At that moment, the doorbell rang once more. The sound cut through the tension like a knife. My stomach twisted, my pulse spiked. Who could it be this time? I glanced at Emma, whose eyes twinkled with a mixture of challenge and encouragement. I walked to the door, trying to steady my nerves. Peering through the peephole, I saw nothing familiar. Then I opened it, and there, on the threshold, was my old self, or at least a version of me I hadn't seen since the start of this transformation. The mirror-like reflection in the glass of the hallway behind them revealed both the masculine and feminine sides coexisting, colliding, and converging. A symbolic moment struck me, the duality of identity made tangible. I realized that the transformation was irreversible, not merely in appearance, but in the self I now inhabited. The fear, vulnerability, and exhilaration fused into a singular moment of clarity. Emma smiled knowingly. "Do you see it now?" she asked softly. "This is who you are. The test isn't over until you can embrace both sides without flinching." I nodded slowly, the tension melting slightly, replaced by an awe-inspiring mixture of fear, excitement, and self-recognition. My hands adjusted the scarf, my heels clicked firmly against the floor, and I felt the subtle sway of the dress. Every detail, every movement, every expression had become part of a unified self, a fusion of confidence, femininity, and identity. Just as I began to exhale in relief, the sound of the phone buzzing echoed through the apartment. A new message from Emma appeared. "Perfect. Now let's see how the world reacts." I froze. The suspense wasn't over. The ultimate challenge had been survived, but the repercussions, the exposure, the societal judgment, the continued tests awaited. The room felt smaller, the air thicker, yet I felt a surge of power I hadn't known before. I glanced at Emma, who gave a subtle nod of approval. I realized the transformation wasn't just physical, it was emotional, psychological, and existential. Every step, every movement, every breath carried the weight of my new self. And yet, the final test loomed, stepping out into the world as the person I had become, with no safety net, no excuses, only the confidence I had earned through fear, suspense, and self-discovery. The symbolic moment of duality, the reflection of both selves in the hallway glass, the wig perfectly in place, the dress flowing, was frozen in time. The suspense remained unbearable. What would happen next? Would I be accepted? Would Emma be satisfied? Could I truly inhabit this new identity without faltering? The cliffhanger was complete. Every nerve, every fiber of emotion, every ounce of tension set the stage for the unresolved aftermath, a suspenseful, emotional turning point that left viewers questioning, speculating, and eagerly awaiting the next chapter. I stood in the center of the living room, heels clicking lightly on the floor, adjusting the scarf Emma had given me. Every detail of my transformation, the wig, the makeup, the dress, the subtle sway of my posture, felt hyperreal, almost surreal. I had crossed a threshold I never thought possible, yet the world outside this apartment loomed like an invisible jury, ready to judge every step I took. Emma's eyes watched me like a hawk, her expression unreadable. One part of me longed for approval, another trembled at the thought of her finding even a single flaw. My heartbeat thundered in my chest as I realized the magnitude of what I had become, not just physically, but emotionally. The duality of my existence, the masculine and feminine sides colliding, was now undeniable. "Look at yourself," Emma whispered, stepping close. "Not just at what you've become, but at how you carry it. This is who you are now, and the world will notice." Her words sent shivers down my spine. The thought of leaving this safe, controlled space and stepping into the unpredictable chaos of the outside world was terrifying. My hands trembled slightly as I smoothed the fabric of the dress, the soft material brushing against my fingers in a comforting yet mocking reminder of the persona I now inhabited. The phone buzzed again, another message from Emma. "Dinner guest arriving in 10 minutes. Are you ready to show them the new you?" My stomach dropped. I hadn't expected company. My pulse raced as I realized this was more than a test. It was exposure, a potential revelation to someone outside our private dynamic. I glanced at Emma, who simply smiled, calm and assured, leaving all the tension in my hands. I moved toward the door, each step deliberate, heels clacking against the hardwood, echoing like a countdown. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye, a perfect balance of fear, excitement, and empowerment. The dual self stared back at me, a silent reminder that nothing would ever be the same. The doorbell rang again, sharply, almost accusingly. I swallowed hard and opened it to reveal a figure I didn't recognize at first. Then, shock hit me. It was my cousin, someone I hadn't seen in months, standing there with a curious smile and a sparkle of mischief in their eyes. "Surprise!" they exclaimed. "I thought I'd drop by." I froze, the package of suspense tightening around my chest. Emma's subtle nod encouraged me to compose myself. The room felt impossibly small, every movement amplified, every heartbeat loud enough to hear. Hey," I managed, my voice pitched slightly higher than usual, betraying the tremor of nerves. Emma stepped closer, her hand brushing lightly against my back, grounding me. "Go ahead," she whispered. "Show them who you are." I took a deep breath, adjusting the wig and straightening the dress. My cousin's eyes roamed over me, curiosity giving way to astonishment, and then something else, something I couldn't quite name. I tried to smile, to appear confident, to embody the feminine self I had spent days perfecting. But the room seemed to shrink further, the pressure of judgment, expectation, and secrecy converging into one unbearable weight. A sudden thought struck me. What if they didn't accept me? What if this transformation, this experiment, this self I had nurtured, was rejected outright? My palms grew sweaty, and I felt the familiar tug of panic threatening to undo all the progress I had made. Emma's voice cut through my spiraling thoughts. "It's okay," she said, calm yet commanding. "Whatever happens next, remember this. You've faced every fear to get here. You've embraced both sides of yourself. That is strength." Her words anchored me for a moment, giving me the courage to step fully into my persona. I moved forward, offering a soft, deliberate smile to my cousin, attempting to mask the inner turmoil. They stepped closer, eyes wide, and a silence fell over the room. Every second stretched, loaded with unspoken questions and potential revelations. Then, almost imperceptibly, my cousin's lips curved into a smile, but it wasn't the approving smile I had hoped for. It was knowing, mischievous, teasing, as if they saw more than just the feminine version of me. They saw everything I had tried to conceal. Emma's eyes flickered with excitement, clearly delighted by the suspense, while my own heart hammered violently. The weight of secrecy, fear, and anticipation collided, leaving me frozen in place. The dual self, the anxious, unsure boy and the confident, feminine persona, merged into one, teetering on the edge of revelation. A knock echoed from the apartment next door. Another visitor? Another test? My stomach twisted as I realized the suspense wasn't over. The delicate balance of identity, secrecy, and exposure hung by a single thread. Emma whispered, almost teasingly, "Are you ready for the world to see all of you?" I nodded slowly, though uncertainty gnawed at every nerve. The suspense was unbearable, but also intoxicating. The thrill of the unknown, the fear of judgment, the exhilaration of inhabiting a persona so different from my previous self, all of it surged through me like wildfire. And then, the door to the living room creaked again. I froze. The sound was subtle but deliberate. My heart raced. Another twist? Another revelation waiting to unfold? I could feel the tension ripple through the apartment, through every fiber of my being. Emma's eyes glimmered with mischief and anticipation. "Let's see what happens next," she whispered. I swallowed hard, standing tall in my heels, fully aware that nothing would ever be the same. The suspense, the uncertainty, the thrill of duality, it all converged into one singular, electrifying moment. The door stood ajar, the hallway dimly lit, shadows stretching across the floor. My reflection caught my eye in the mirror one last time before the scene blurred into uncertainty, the confident, feminine persona I had fought to become, staring back at me with fear, curiosity, and exhilaration all at once. And then cut to black.